everybody, and welcome to our Mental Health Minute today. My name is Cassie, and I have done a few other mental health minutes in the past. I am a crisis counselor with Project Renew, and I've recently actually taken a position as an executive director of a small nonprofit as well, so that's really exciting. My other team members for Mental Health Minutes are Bobby Hansen and Terry. I'm not going to attempt the S last name, Burns. I always slaughter it, so I'll just not say it. And we are going to be able to continue Project Renew through July. So this is really exciting. We'll have more mental health minutes coming. The previous ones that I've done were on hope, building resilience, and self-esteem, and we've had a lot of other ones. They're all recorded if you want to go back and find them. So, but today we're going to be talking about perfection versus harmony. And then next time, I'm actually planning on talking about change and how to maybe enjoy change, or when change comes in our life, how to embrace it. So I'm still working on that one. But as for today, we're talking about perfection versus harmony. So originally, I got to tell you, I was planning on talking about gratitude today. But on Sunday, I'm a Sunday school teacher. And so while I was at Sunday school, I only had one student. So we decided to go into the adult Bible study. And the pastor was talking about harmony versus perfection and what we do to ourselves to be perfect. And, he was, among other things, he was intertwining it with biblical teachings and things like that. But it really spoke to me about how I didn't even really realize it, but that's something that I've been striving for in my life, instead of everything being so perfect, but finding that harmony. So I thought it would be kind of fun to share it with you. So what we're going to do today, I've got a couple of definitions, and then we're going to talk about self-expectations and maybe some rationale for change in our lives. And then I have an exercise, and hopefully we'll have enough time to share some of our what we do in the exercise. So I'm going to give you all a minute to grab a pen and paper for that exercise here. It'll come up in a little bit, but I might forget to let you take time to grab one. So I'm going to let you do that right now while I take a little drink of water. Okay. So first things first, definitions. The definition of perfection. And you can look this up in any dictionary. There's probably slight differences depending on which dictionary you're looking in, but the definitions I chose were this: the condition, state, or quality of being free from all flaws or defects. And then also the action or process of improving something until it is flawless or faultless. So that is a very rigid kind of feeling I get when I hear, it is a state of perfection, having zero flaws, no defects. That's pretty difficult to standard to meet when you're applying it to your life. Now the definition of harmony is much more forgiving and flexible. So harmony is, a lot of times we think of harmony when we think of music and the harmonies that go along with the melody, but the definition is a pleasing arrangement of parts. Another definition is internal calm. And the third definition is interweaving of different accounts to a single narrative. So really, when we're thinking of harmony, instead of thinking of something rigid like it is perfectly lined up and makes perfect sense and has no flaws or defects or errors, with harmony, it's something that more flows together and is pleasing. So how do we put this into our life? So with our self-expectations, I would be willing to bet money on the idea that all of us who are here are professionals, and we all really value achievement and success. If we didn't, we probably wouldn't be in the positions we have, right? We wouldn't be in the the world of trying to help others or improve our states and our communities and things like that. So I really think, that probably fits all of us. And I'm guaranteeing we probably have, each of us have pushed ourselves to do really well in many ways, whether it's in school, getting a master's degree, or maybe learning your position quickly and really efficiently, and you push yourself to do well, doing well with our families, and giving back to the community. So these are all, I believe, self-expectations that each of us have. So I'm just going to kind of go with that and assume that we all fit into that little box there. But how many of us have held our standards or held ourselves to standards higher than we hold other people? I'm willing to bet most of us probably have. When you look at your coworkers, if somebody makes a mistake or has an error, or maybe applies for a grant and doesn't get it, or something like that, it's okay. You're doing great. When we really hold people to a high standard, but we give them that forgiveness, right? When it's ourselves, we tend not to do that as much. If we have an error, it might be something that bothers us for a week. If we don't get a grant that we were really hoping to get, that's something that we might carry around with us for a while. So we're holding ourselves to higher standards than other people. This not only occurs in the workplace, so we have to look at ourselves at home too. So is it, where you're holding yourself to maybe too high of a standard or higher than other people? Is it in your looks, body image, your family, whether or not your children are successful, how professional you are, what your time management is like, self-care? All of those things are things that I daily see my coworkers, and I know myself, holding other people to lower standards than I hold myself. And not that that's a bad thing. We're probably holding them to the appropriate standard and holding ourselves way too high. So how many of you have thought or joked about, being OCD when it comes to different things at work or at home? I want to assure you that the majority of people do not have obsessive compulsive disorder, and it is something that a lot of people joke about. But while we're talking about this today, I want you to know that there is a very big difference between being a perfectionist and being hard on yourself and actually having obsessive compulsive disorder. My daughter actually does have OCD, diagnosed, and it's things like the number of times she has to wash her hands, until her skin is actually kind of flaking off and drying off, and that's gotten a lot better. But erasing things, she needs to erase and erase and erase, and if there's any speck on her paper, she's getting better, but she used to need to restart her entire project or that page over if she couldn't get all of the erase marks off, and it was really getting in the way of her life and her success. So as we joke about having OCD about things, most of us actually do not have it. If you are feeling that maybe you do, there's lots of places that you can reach out to those. So just wanted to, I can digress about that, but I just wanted to put that out there. And I didn't want to worry anybody that we're all, we all have OCD because we're such perfectionists. But but now, how many of us, I wonder, and I know I'm one of these, have maybe had a small breakdown when things have not gone the way we hoped? My favorite example of this, and I have permission, is my mom. When my younger sister was graduating high school, we were having the party at our house, and my mom just got so stressed about everything in the house being perfect, and she vacuumed the garage. Like, we swept the garage, and the garage was clean and beautiful and fine and perfect for people to sit at tables in and, eat their potato salad. But she insisted on vacuuming the garage. And we tease her about this to this very day. We're like, is this like a vacuum the garage episode, or is this, okay? So I think all of us maybe have a moment or two where there's a slight meltdown and we kind of lose it. So now, knowing that we're all very normal when it comes to our type of people that are successful and professionals, and we value achievement and success. We push ourselves to do well, and we hold ourselves to higher standards than we hold other people to. And sometimes we might have a slight breakdown when things don't go our way or aren't perfect. What is the benefit of us making some changes in our life to kind of let go a little bit? Well, we all know, I think, in our professions about stress and how that can affect our relationships. It can affect our physical health, and it can affect our mental health. But what about just the basic ability to enjoy a situation, the ability to enjoy a celebration, or the ability to enjoy the work that we're doing? When we're blinded by our needs for perfection, we're not even able to do that. So let alone all of the stress that it's causing ourselves and our heart, and the people around us aren't happy, and so we're having negative impacts on our relationships. Like, what about just enjoying life, right? So I would say it is fair that most of us could probably make a little change here. And the question is, how do we do that? How do we make a change to let go of some of our needs for perfection? Okay, this is where our activity, your pens and pencils or paper or crayons or whatever it is you have, can come in. So we're going to work on going from that rigid perfection to a more forgiving idea of harmony. All right. And I think if we've learned anything from the pandemic that's been going on, and social unrest and all of that, it's really that we need to, maybe savor life and take care of ourselves, right? So I think this is a really good place to start. All right, so there's a few steps that in this process. One is we're going to kind of make a little self-assessment. And then the second one is going to be a plan. So in the self-assessment, I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker, and then we'll go back and take our time. So in the self-assessment, I want you to think about, what is it that I need to be perfect? And it can be something that is, has to do with at home. It can be your looks. It can be something at work. But think about one of those things that you need to be perfect. And then what is the worst thing that can happen if your standards are not met? And then we're going to think about what the consequences of our demands are, and what could happen if we relax a bit. And then after that, we're going to work on the plan. So I'll give you an example of myself while you are trying to think of yours. So with my self-assessment, one of the areas that I feel I need perfection, and I work on this every year, is holidays. I love to host the holidays, but I go a little bonkers when my husband's family is going to come over. All right, everything needs to be perfect. All right, so what's the worst thing that happens if my standards are not met? I think, honestly, the worst thing that's going to happen if my standards are not met, chances are my in-laws aren't even going to notice if there's something wrong, right? That's reality. But the worst thing that would happen is that my sisters-in-laws, both of them, I really hold in high esteem, and I want them to like me. Okay, so in my mind, the very worst thing that could happen is that they won't like me because it's not good enough. Okay, so what are the consequences of my demands? Well, I have noticed that when I'm in the kitchen and I'm, cooking things or, getting things set up, my kids don't want to be anywhere near me because I'm kind of freaking out. My husband, I've seen him actually like tiptoe around the corner, so it's like I'm kind of scaring my family a little bit. So they're not having a good day, and it's a holiday, right? Also, I get myself really upset. And so the consequences of my demands, are probably worse than what the worst thing that could happen if my standards aren't met, right? So the next question then is, what could happen if I relax my standards a bit? Okay, so I might have some more fun during the day. My family will probably be more willing to be around me, because that's another thing. I get upset because they stay away and I would like help, but they're afraid to come around, right? So relaxing my standards a bit might create some more harmony within my family. Um, and honestly, I don't know that my husband's family would even notice if I'm not all in a perfect, if every plate isn't sitting just perfect, and the mashed potatoes don't have any lumps in them, and all of those little perfect things. So that's our first part, is that self-assessment. So my self-assessment was with the holidays. The second part is we're going to make a plan. So there's two parts to this. First one is, if this is an area where you just cannot lower your standards, what are you going to do? And the second one will be, if you can find a way that if you can find that this is a spot where you can lower your standards, what are you going to do? Okay, so the first part, there are some times where your standards just really, really need to be very high. If you are hosting an event for work and it's a big donor event, and this is your biggest fundraiser of the year, and you have a lot of people that could open up their pocketbooks, and so they have to have a perfect time, right? This might not be the place where you feel that you can relax a little bit. So what are you going to do? First of all, you need to communicate with the other people around you, whether it's your coworkers or your family or whomever, why those standards are so important and how you need to fulfill those standards. Communication here is extremely important, because this is going to help your relationships. I know for my new position that I mentioned, I do have a big fundraising event that's coming up in September, and I know I'm going to be like, it's my first one. It's got to be perfect. I'm going to have to communicate with my husband and my kids. I'm going to be working extra hours, and this is why, and I'm really nervous and I need your support. That's really important. So they understand where I'm coming from, and it's not just out of the blue. The second thing is going to be to ask people for help and be very specific as to what you need and why you need it. So my board and my coworkers, things like that, and probably my husband, because I'm going to need him to drive around and pick stuff up and do all those things. But it's important. You are not an island. So to meet this standard of perfection, you communicate with the people who are on your team as to why it's so important. So if it's a grant that you're writing and it needs to be pristine and perfect, what are you going to do to get everybody else on the same page as you? Okay, so that's going to help your relationships, and it's going to help that either document, event, whatever, be as perfect as you need it to be. So that's if we cannot let go, and this item that you're assessing yourself on absolutely has to be perfect. So now if we find a spot where we can let go a little bit, and we can release, and we can have harmony instead of perfection, how do we do it? I'm going to take myself back to holidays. Holidays with my husband's family. Okay, I got to remind myself regularly, even working up to it. All right, I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go of this idea of perfection. And instead, I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to enjoy my family, and it's going to be harmonious. All right. Ask yourself, if you get stuck, ask yourself, what is the most important thing here? What is the most important part of this event? Who are the most important people? In my mind, who should be more important to me? My husband's sisters or my husband and my children? Obviously, my husband and my children should be the most important, right? So that will help you keep yourself focused. Build in some reminders. Okay, so this is going to be different across the board, but I have just some kind of ideas of what you could do. So look at people's faces. This is actually something I just told my niece because she just got married, and she was really, like, a couple days before, I mean, it was like a wedding really thrown together really quickly because she moved to California. Her husband is in the Marines, and it was really, really quick. So she was super stressed. And I told her, I said, Addie, on the day of your wedding, look at people's faces. It will help ground you and remind you that the most important thing is that you're getting married and people who love you are here. You're not going to care about the flowers 10 years from now, or if the cake falls over, or one of the groomsmen passes out, which actually did happen. You know, maybe you'll remember it, but the most important thing is that you are marrying this wonderful person. Okay, so look at people's faces. Another thing, like if this is a work, if where you're letting go a little bit is something to do with work, read like client applications, or maybe some of their reviews if you have satisfaction surveys that come through, because that's going to remind you of why you do what you do. So going back and thinking about, you know, again, what is that most important thing? And then another idea that I have, and like I said, sky's the limit with all of these reminder ideas, but is to step away for a moment. Giving yourself 2 minutes by yourself is not going to end the world, right? Just to give yourself a minute, regroup, and come back to it. Okay, so we have 5 minutes left. Some of my suggestions for areas that I think most of us can probably try to let go is social media, like what we put on social media or how we view other people's social media. When we take family pictures, we always want those to be perfect. The holidays, vacations, planning events for work or for our social life, our beauty, what we look like, what our body size is, those kind of things, professionalism. I think, I know there's tons more. I'm sure you all have thought about other things, but those are kind of some ideas that I have where we can do this. Like I said, it's a self-assessment first and then a plan. So the self-assessment is what area am I looking at that I'm feeling I need perfection? What is the worst thing that's going to happen if my standards aren't met? What are the consequences of the demands that I'm putting on myself and other people? And what will happen if I relax my standards a bit? The second part is that plan. If I find that I cannot lower my standards and I have to have this rigid expectation of perfection, I'm going to communicate with those around me, my loved ones, my coworkers, my friends, whomever, as to why this is so important. And I'm going to ask for help. And I'm going to communicate why that's so important. Now, if I can reduce my stress and add some forgiving harmony in my life, I am going to remind myself what my plan is. And I'm going to do that regularly. I'm going to remind myself what is most important and who is most important. And then I'm going to build in some reminders. And the ones that I gave you were looking at people's faces, reading client applications or reviews, and stepping away for a moment. So we have like 3 minutes left, and I am just wondering if anybody would like to share one of their examples, or if you have any questions. Maybe we could do a raise of hands if anybody, and you can do like the raise of hands up on your, you don't have to turn your camera on if you don't want to, but a raise of hands if you feel that maybe there might be a spot where you could reduce your standards a little bit. Oh, I got a 1 yes. One person says yes. 2, 3. Yep. I definitely know that there's some places where we can. Oh, there's 4. Yep. Some places where you can, and some places where it's just, professionally, you just have to hold on and keep doing things to perfection. But if you do have any questions, or if you've missed any of the videos, you can contact us through Project Renew, and we can find those links, help you find those links to the other videos. Or if you come up with questions later on, or if there's a topic you would like us to research for you. It looks like, Jill, do you have a question? No. Okay. If there's a topic you would like us to research and put something together on, we can definitely do that as well. I think we've kind of come up with our own in areas that we find interesting to ourselves, but we will definitely take on a challenge. So you can also let us know that. So with that, it is just under 12:30. I thank everybody for coming, and I hope you were able to glean a little bit of inspiration for getting rid of some of our rigidness and adding some harmony to your life. So have a great day, and I hope everybody has the sun that I have right now, because it's beautiful outside. Bye-bye.